Maybe one day I'll have an introduction. Maybe. Like, for a video. But I just jumped straight into it. So, The Lord of the Flies was one of those books that I was forced to read, and I hardly did even that in high school. But after a debate in English class, I suddenly became interested. What would happen if a bunch of schoolboys crash landed on an island with no adults? The author is William Golding, who lived through the World War and nuclear disaster and believes that there is evil in our hearts as he loses faith in humanity. The debate in my class was nature or nurture. Are we naturally good and want law and order, or have we been conditioned or tamed to follow rules? I'm assuming this is the main dialogue that people attempt to answer surrounding this book, but I just want to make sure we are on the same page here that this is not that. The reason why I'm making a video on this book is to prove a point. I'm using Golding's words, not mine, as a desperate attempt to build some credibility but not let all the blame fall on me. So, if you're still watching, you better buckle up, and I'm about to spin your life around in a second, and I urge you to muster all the willpower you can to watch the video in its entirety, because this is the next step. Page 181 reads, "The greatest ideas are the simplest." Thank you, author, and with that being said, I'm simply going to look at the title of this book. Lord of the Flies. Translation, Beelzebub. Who is that? A demon. Page 291 reads, "The Lord of the Flies is a translation of the Greek Beelzebub. It has been suggested that it was a mistranslation of a mistransliterated word, which gives this pungent and suggestive name for the devil. A devil whose name suggests that he is devoted to decay, destruction, demoralization, hysteria, and panic. The devil is not presented in any traditional religious sense. Golding's Beelzebub is the modern equivalent, the anarchic, amoral, driving force that the feudants call the ID, whose only function seems to be to ensure the survival of the host." I'm going to be pulling quotes from the book to show the spiritual aspect that I believe is being presented here. I know this is a weird subject to talk about, but I'm simply trying to make you become the best version of you that's possible. And now you don't have to believe in angels and demons and all this spiritual business, but I urge you to keep an open mind. Like, why not? And just because you don't believe in these spiritual titles doesn't mean this video is not beneficial to you. You see, we all get angry. We can all let our egos get the best of us. We can all be destructive. So even if you don't believe, you're still in danger and can allow yourself to fall to these things. Introduction's over, guys. Time to get into the gist of all of it with the third quote I'm going to be pulling from the book, and that is within the first chapter. "Within the diamond haze of the beach, something dark was fumbling along. Ralph saw it first, and watched till the intentness of his gaze drew all eyes that way. Then the creatures stepped from the mirage onto the clear sand, and they saw that the darkness was not all shadow, but mostly clothing. The creature was a party of boys." So these are the choir boys who turn into hunters who then turn into savages. And it already hints at the darkness that they knowingly or unknowingly give into. And these choir boys are led by Jack, who says, on page 39, "We'll have lots of rules," he cried excitingly. "Lots of rules, and when someone breaks them, we-oh, wacko, bong, doink." And this is what he said in a meeting when they are discussing what to do until they get saved. And as you can see, these kids are freaking crazy. But look at the way Jack speaks. He's haughty in spirit. Haughty means arrogantly superior and disdainful. Disdainful means showing contempt or lack of respect. Jack wants to make rules to whack kids. He's excited to make tons of them, but his intent is wrong, and that shows when he ends up breaking them, like the rules. And his character is also seen in this quote. Page 53. "After all, we're not savages, we're English, and the English are best at everything, so we gotta do the right things." In this quote particular, there is a lot of dialogue by people much more skillful than I am. And it is important dialogue for sure, but again, not the main focus for this video. But what I believe is important is wondering what type of person would say this. A prideful one. Pride is very dangerous because we can ignore what we don't like. We will get a fixated truth that makes us happy, but it could be dangerous in the long run. Then the holes of our mentality grow and slip into darkness. This book is an extreme example of that happening in a short period of time. However, many die though before ever realizing the holes and never get a chance to fix it. And now, fast forward a bit into the book, and Jack is a hunter. This is what he says in a later meeting when they're starting to talk about a beast in the island. Page 68 reads, "There's nothing to it, of course, just a feeling, but you can feel as if you're not hunting, but being hunted, as if something's behind you all the time in the jungle. Now it's getting juicy. This is the dialogue I'm looking for. The fearless, egotistical hunter that seeks blood is in fact the prey. But by who? It's in the freaking title of the book, guys. Come on. And now the kids worry that there is a beast on the island. The big kids try to be logical and explain that a giant creature can't live on such a small island, but the talk of the beast never goes away." Now jumping to page 116, you start to see very strange behaviors from the little kids, as if they're caught in some kind of trance, or being controlled by fear. And I need to get my book out, So, in the meeting, they're asking what is his name. And he couldn't say it. And so the whole entire group of boys started chanting, "What's your name? What's your name?" And then, quiet. "Now tell us, what is your name?" And this is what he says. "Percival Wemyss Watterson, the Vicarage, Harcourt, St. Anthony, Haints, telephone, telephone, telephone." And then the boy said, "Shut up. You shut up." Like they're trying to get him to stop crying. Percival Wemyss Watterson would not shut up. A spring has been tapped, far beyond the reach of authority or even physical intimidation. The crying went on, breath after breath, and seemed to sustain him upright, as if he were nailed to it. "Shut up, shut up." And now all the little kids start crying. And then luckily it's broken by laughter because somebody pretends to fall over and act, and it got everybody to laugh. But then Jack says, "And what about the beast?" Something strange was happening to Percival. He yawned and staggered, so Jack seized and took him. Jack seized and took him because something strange was happening to Percival. And I'm not going to go too deep into it and draw any crazy connection, but it's just so strange. This is just strange behavior. And in the same exact meeting, this happens in page 119. Maybe there is a beast. What I mean is, maybe it's only us. This quote is from Simon. Super interesting character. He seems to be the only one that contemplates the dark force in the island. To an extent, Simon's not wrong. I've been glossing over much of the story because I do have your precious time in mind, but I realize I must explain who the kids think the beast is. At this point of the story, the kids are really struggling. The leader of the kids, Ralph, wishes that he had adults on the island to look up to, because clearly adults would know what to do. They would be organized and reasonable, but the author thinks otherwise. Right after their struggle and wish for a sign of what adults would do, there was a dogfight between two airplanes in the war that was going on. One plane blows up and a dead parachuter comes down and lands on the top of the island. The kids that saw the dead parachuter lets fear get the best of him, and they think it's the beast. And now everyone is spiraling even deeper into chaos. So Jack's answer on how to deal with a beast on the island is by killing a pig and leaving the pig's head on the top of a stick as an offering to the beast, in hopes that the beast will leave them alone. Now, this sounds a lot like offering sacrifices to false gods, which is directly associated with Beelzebub. Is there a connection? Most definitely. And Simon, in this part of the story, was walking around the forest and he stumbled upon the pig head on a stick. And suddenly it's no longer just the pig head on a stick. It's the Lord of the Flies, which already proves it's much more than a title. It's a character, or it's a being. And in this conversation between Simon and the Lord of the Flies, Simon doesn't seem frightened. Rather, the Lord of the Flies is powerless to Simon. Page 200. "Don't you agree?" said the Lord of the Flies. "Aren't you just a silly little boy?" But Simon didn't say anything. He doesn't care about a creepy head on a stick. This fearlessness is so good when it comes to dealing with darkness, because there is nothing to fear. I mean, I'm scared of heights and spiders, but I'm not scared of demons. And I don't think you should be, which is why I'm trying to do this. But page 200. "Fancy thinking the beast was something you could hunt and kill. Because the beast isn't physical, it's spiritual. And we must fight in the mental. And if we give way to the beast, we slowly expose ourselves and become more susceptible to their influence. Take Jack as an example." In the same page, it reads, this is still the Lord of the Flies talking, by the way. "You knew, didn't you? I'm a part of you. Close, close, close. I'm the reason why it's a no-go, why things are the way they are." The demon is referring to the chaos in the island. This is why Simon said, "Maybe we are the beast." Even though Simon is face to face with the demon can't do a thing in this situation. He's trying to scare Simon, but instead he just gets pissed off. And I'm going to try to add some more context on why this quote from the Lord of the Flies, "I'm the reason why things are the way they are," fits the holistic view of the world we live in today. Holistic means characterized by comprehension of the parts of something as intimately interconnected and explicable only by reference to the whole. I grew up Jehovah's Witness, and they have this really interesting take on Revelations 12:7, which reads, "And there was a war in heavens. Michael and his archangels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels and prevailed not. Neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called Devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him." The Jehovah's Witnesses believe this happened in 1914, right when World War I started, which is really interesting to think because World War I started because of just assassination. And in turn, World War II started because of World War I. And you must excuse me because I don't have their evidence behind their reasoning. And I'm not trying to state this as a fact though. Believe in what you want. It's just food for thought, and it's if you think about it, it's kind of odd. And I believe the author included this because he was in the war and he saw all the cruel and evil things done, the darkness in man's heart. However, he didn't have to title this book after a demon. Why did the author put this dialogue in? I think this is much more than just what would happen if we were trapped in an island, or what human nature is. I think this is a part of a much bigger story. One that's been going on for a very long time, and one that we're living through and are a product of. If Jehovah's Witnesses were right in this perspective, then it would make sense that the author sees the influence this demon has in the world, which is probably why it's presented in this book. And I choose to do this video as, like I said, a next step. I'm carefully trying to put myself in the audience's shoes and introduce a certain kind of dialogue that gives my life meaning. I didn't spoil the book for you guys in case if you want to read it. And I didn't make this video as a book summary, but as an analysis of the beast and the Lord of the Flies. Because it is a demon. And you don't want demons in your life. As you can see, all they do is cause destruction, but they hold no power over you. Make a stand in your thoughts, because we have millions of voices in our heads, and we're able to choose which thoughts are able to be voiced out. And listen to the one quiet one that's so silent in a chaotic world. Listen to the small voice that wants you to do better and to develop it. Today was an introduction into darkness, but soon I'll dive into other topics to help you along the path. We must give no weight to negative thoughts in our mind. I know it's extremely difficult to listen to that one voice, and maybe sometimes we even doubt that could we even have a good thought? In that second when that happens, you must give darkness no leverage. Let your true strength blossom and develop by saying, no more. No more. I'm sick and tired of the destructive voices in my head, and in this second, I take back control. No demon can scare me. No darkness can terrify me. Only one God. I only fear God.